Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to be discussing about how genetic engineering is going to be playing a very important role in the field of medicine. So already we have discussed about how rDNA technology is useful in producing the valuable proteins. So that time itself I mentioned that these valuable proteins can be used for synthesizing drugs, medicine, and it is very much useful for producing a lot of pharmaceutical products. So today let's take a look at few of the examples which can be like few of the drugs or few of the hormones which are produced using rDNA technology commercially, so that we will be seeing now. Okay, so the first one is insulin. So using rDNA technology, insulin can be produced on a commercial scale. Okay, so insulin is a protein hormone and the work of insulin is to pick up all the excess glucose which is there in our blood and to store it in the liver. Now, if this insulin is not there in your body, then the excess glucose will not get stored in the liver. Instead, it will be circulating in the blood itself, leading to a high blood glucose level. So lack of insulin will lead to a condition which is called as diabetes mellitus. So for people whose blood sugar level is very high, for them insulin has to be administered. So there are many people around the world who are suffering with diabetes mellitus. So this insulin hormone is produced on a large scale using rDNA technology to treat people who are affected with diabetes mellitus. Okay, we cannot treat it. It can be kept on a check. The glucose level can be kept right. Okay, all right. Then the next one is tissue plasminogen activator. So what is this tissue plasminogen activator? So tissue plasminogen activator is a substance which is very useful for breaking up the clots. Okay, so if there are any blood clots, this tissue plasminogen will help to dissolve the clots. So that is the function of tissue plasminogen activator. Okay, so this tissue plasminogen activator even helps to prevent heart attack. So this can be synthesized using rDNA technology and prevent the blood clots as well as heart attack. Then the next important compound which can be synthesized using rDNA technology are the human growth hormone. So growth hormone is a very important hormone which is needed for a person to grow. Okay, a child's development is very much going to be played a role by the growth hormone. So this growth hormone, if its level decreases, it will lead to a condition which is known as dwarfism in children. Okay, so this growth hormone can be given to children who are having a low level of growth hormone in their body. So for that, using rDNA technology, human growth hormone can be produced. Then the next one is blood clotting factor. So for example, if you have got a injury. So when you have got an injury, at the site of the injury, what happens? The blood will be starting to bleed. So when the blood is starting to bleed, what happens? It will be bleeding only for a short while and after that, the blood will clot. So when the blood clots, the blood will not bleed anymore. Am I right? So how is the blood clotting? There are a lot of clotting factors which are involved in making the blood to clot. That means the blood cells will aggregate together. That is only known as clotting. So there are many factors which are important for making the blood to clot. Okay, and if there is lack of the clotting factors, it will lead to a condition which is called as hemophilia. So hemophilia is a condition where the blood will not clot even if there is any cut or injury. So if a person is suffering with hemophilia and if he has got any cut or injury, the blood will be continuously bleeding and it can even lead to the death of the individual if the blood is bleeding profusely. Okay, so for people who are suffering from hemophilia, for them the blood clotting factor can be produced using the rDNA technology. Okay, then the next one is vaccines. Vaccines can be produced by rDNA technology for rabies, hepatitis, and many other infections. Okay, so these are some of the importance of using rDNA technology in the field of medicine. Now let's move on to discuss about the next topic, which is gene therapy. So gene therapy is a process of removing the defective gene and replacing it with a functional one. So you all know what is a gene. So I will repeat once again for you what is a gene. So gene is nothing but a small segment which is there in a DNA. And these genes are responsible for coding some proteins. So this gene, a specific gene, could be defective in a person. So what can be done is those genes which are defective can be replaced with a functional one, and the replacement of the defective gene with the functional one is only known as gene therapy. Okay, so gene therapy was first implemented by W. French Anderson in the year 1990, and the first child to be treated with gene therapy was Ashanti De Silva. Okay, so Ashanti De Silva was suffering from a genetic disorder which is known as SCID, severe combined immunodeficiency. Okay, so now let's understand what is gene therapy. There are two types of gene therapy. Okay, so there are two types of gene therapy. One is somatic gene therapy and the other one is germline gene therapy. So what is somatic gene therapy? Somatic gene therapy means it is going to do with the body cells. Okay, so somatic means the body cells. So germline means it is the reproductive cells. So the reproductive cells are only called as the germ cells. Okay, so gene therapy is divided into two as somatic gene therapy and the germline gene therapy. So somatic gene therapy is going to deal with changing the defective genes which are present in our body cells, and germline gene therapy is going to deal with changing the defective genes which are present in the reproductive cells, that is the sperm and the ovum. Okay, now somatic gene therapy, if a change is going to be done in the somatic cells, okay, so if there is a defect in the somatic cell, a gene which is present in the somatic cell of a person, so what can be done is that somatic gene which is defective can be replaced with a functional one. But this somatic gene therapy is going to be beneficial only for the individual and it is not going to be passed on to the next generation. Okay, so whatever gene therapy is done in the somatic cells will not be passed on to the next generation and it will be beneficial only for the person. So when we talk about germline gene therapy, here the reproductive cells are going to be replaced with a functional gene. So this has the ability to get transferred to the next generation. So the changes which are done in the germ cells, if a germ cell is changed, that is if the sperm or the ovum, if any changes are done in the sperm and the ovum, that changes can get passed on to the next generation. But if it is done in the body cells, it will not get passed on to the next generation because somatic cells do not have the ability to pass on itself to the next generation. Only the reproductive cells will be going on to the next generation. Okay, so this is about gene therapy. Alright, now let's take a look at what are stem cells. So what are stem cells? So before that, when we talk about cells, cells are the unit of life. Okay, and there are about 200 different cell types which are present in our body, and the cells which are there in our body can be broadly divided into two as differentiated cells and undifferentiated cells. Differentiated cells are also called as the specialized cells, and undifferentiated cells are also called as the unspecialized cell. Okay. So now what is the difference between the specialized cell and the unspecialized cell? Now when we talk about the specialized cell, all the specialized cell which are there in our body will be having a specific function to perform. Okay, so they have a specific function. Okay, for example, when we talk about the cells which are there in our heart, the cells which are there in our heart has the role to contract the heart. Okay, so the cardiac cells which are there will help the heart to pump the blood. And then when we talk about the neurons, the work of the neuron is to transmit the impulse from, that is the message, to transmit the message from one neuron to the next neuron. When we talk about the liver cell has got a specific function. Like that, each and every cell which is there in our body has got a specific function which it has to be performing. And those cells which have a specific function to perform are all called as the differentiated or the specialized cells. On the other hand, when we talk about the undifferentiated or the unspecialized cells, these undifferentiated and unspecialized cells, they do not have a specific function, but then they have the ability to develop into the specialized cell. Okay, so they do not have a specific function. Okay, so it's just an undifferentiated mass of cell. But these cells have the ability to develop into a specialized cell. Okay, so these cells are only known as the stem cells. So stem cells are basically totipotent as well as pluripotent. So what is the meaning of totipotent? So totipotent means a cell which is taken from the stem cell has the ability to develop into a complete organism. So that is only known as totipotency, the total potential. So one stem cell has the ability to give rise to an entire organism. And then what is the meaning of pluripotent? Pluripotent means one cell has the ability to divide itself into many specialized cells. So for example, if there is one stem cell, that one stem cell can give rise to the neurons. It can give rise to the heart cells. It can give rise to the liver cells. So like that, each stem cell can give rise to a number of cells, and that is only known as pluripotency. Pluri means many. Okay, so each stem cell giving rise to many different cells is known as pluripotency, and totipotency means the stem cell having the ability to divide into a complete organism is only known as totipotency. Okay, so stem cells are both totipotent as well as pluripotent. Now let's move on to discuss about the properties of the stem cells and where and all stem cell can be obtained from. So the first property of the stem cell is that stem cells are self-renewal. So what is the meaning of stem cells are self-renewal? Stem cells are self-renewal means they have the ability to produce more and more of its own kind. That is, each stem cell has the ability to produce more and more of its own stem cell type. So that is only known as self-renewals. It will renew its own self. Okay. Then the next property of the stem cells are they have the ability to give rise to the specialized cells. Okay, so as they are undifferentiated cells, which means they do not have a specific function, but they can give rise to many cells which are going to be having a specific function. So these are the two very important properties of the stem cells. One is they can renew their own cells, and the second one is it can produce a number of cells from that one stem cell. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to discuss about the different types of stem cells. So there are two types of stem cells. One is the adult stem cells and the other one is the embryonic stem cells. So first let's talk about the embryonic stem cells. So from the name itself you can understand that the embryonic stem cells are going to be present in the embryo. Okay, so it's going to be present in the embryo. So when we talk about the embryo, so in the blastocyst stage of the embryo, okay, so this is the blastocyst. Okay, so in the blastocyst stage of the embryonic development, the outermost cells which are present are called as the trophoblast cells. And then inner to that trophoblast cells, there will be little more cells which are present. And those cells are called as the inner cell mass. And the inner cell mass only has got the ability to divide into a complete fetus. So all the parts which are there in our body has got developed from this inner cell mass only. So this inner cell mass is only the embryonic stem cell. Okay. So the embryonic stem cell is the inner cell mass. Okay. So what is the inner cell mass? In the blastocyst stage of the embryo, the two types of cells will be there. One is the trophoblast cells and then the inner cell mass. One is the trophoblast cell and the other one is the inner cell mass. The trophoblast cells are going to be present on the outer surface and then the inner cell mass will be present in the middle. And this inner cell mass is only going to be the embryonic stem cell which can divide into the entire organism. Okay. So then this is about the embryonic stem cell. So when we talk about adult stem cells are going to be present in neonates. So what is the meaning of neonates? Neonates means newborn. So it's going to be present in newborn and then it is also going to be present in the umbilical cord and then in the bone marrow. So it is going to be present in the bone marrow of adults. Okay, so in the adults, stem cells can be taken from the umbilical cord, from the bone marrow, and it is seen even in the newborns. Okay, so this is about the two different types of the stem cells. Now, how can stem cell be useful in the field of medicine? So now you know the nature of the stem cell. So the nature of the stem cell is that it can divide into any type of cell. So using this, what can be done is the cells which are damaged can be replaced with the stem cells so that that stem cell will be becoming that specialized cell and taking over the function of it. Okay. So that is called as stem cell therapy. So stem cell therapy is the process of taking the lost or damaged or injured cells and replacing it with the stem cell so that stem cell will take over and do the specific function which the injured cell was doing. Okay, so stem cells are very much useful for treating a lot of neurodegenerative disorders. Okay, so neurodegenerative disorders can be treated using the stem cell therapy. So now you know that the neurons which are there in our body, what happens is if there is any injury, it will get damaged. So once the neurons are damaged, the damage which is happening in the neurons are permanent. After that, we cannot bring it back to life again. So what can be done in those situations? In such situations, the damaged neuron can be replaced with the stem cell. So when it is getting replaced with the stem cell, what happens is whatever function that neuron was performing, that will be then taken forward by the stem cell which was given the specific role there. Okay, so stem cell therapy is used for treating neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson, Alzheimer's. So all these diseases can be treated using stem cell therapy. So I hope you understood whatever we have discussed in this video. Thank you so much for watching.